Is Jesse Jackson good for African Americans or
No.
not?
He's
not.
good for himself.
Good for himself.
And that's true of most ethnic leaders in most groups, in most countries, in most periods of history. That what will serve his interest is to keep people paranoid, dependent upon him, dependent upon government. What will serve their interest is typically just the opposite.
Was the civil rights movement good for the African American in all ways, or were there any downsides to it?
It was good in some ways. It was not, like most things, it's not good in all ways. It's a little like, a clock that stopped will be right twice a day. And the liberals' assumptions worked in that particular case for a limited period. Unfortunately, along with that came many other things which destroyed law enforcement, which destroyed the family, which destroyed education.
Have you ever debated Jesse Jackson?
No, I haven't.
Is that because, would you like to, or would he not want to do that?
I have no idea.
What should the civil rights movement be for now?
Dissolution. They've won, declare victory, go home and start putting your efforts into something else like education, entrepreneurship, all kinds of other things that have a much bigger payoff.
Why don't they do that?
Because they're specialized. I mean, how come wrestlers don't go in for violin playing? Well, they don't have those skills.
I mean, there's nothing else Jesse Jackson can do?
Well, do you think Jesse Jackson can become a violinist?
I don't. Al Sharpton?
Not bloody likely.
So you're saying that the leaders, whatever group, leader, wants the people to be poor and dependent on them as opposed to dependent on themselves?
Oh, absolutely. The people who are playing the race card at every turn, because the people who are hurt most by that are the blacks themselves.
I am American.
Why have so many so-called civil rights and black leaders rejected? I mean, you know how much they dislike you. Why?
Well, why does the mafia dislike policemen? I mean, they're making their racket harder. You know that if people believe what I say, then of course they're not going to believe what these people say. These people have a huge investment in this. I mean, money and all the rest of it, power, the rest of it.
I think you've written that for the civil rights movement, emphasizing civil rights is the thing that will help blacks and other poor people the most. Is a distraction. It won't.
That's right. If you look at the data, you find that blacks were rising faster prior to the civil rights movement and since the civil rights movement. For all kinds of reasons. Blacks were getting more education, they're getting a better quality of education in a different part of the country and so forth. Years ago when I was giving a talk at Marquette, a young black man got up and he said, "I'm about to graduate from Marquette University, but what hope is there for me?" And I said, "There's about twice as much hope as there was for your parents and 10 times what there was for your grandparents." But he has been convinced that he can't make it.
Married, with a grown son of his own who didn't talk until he was nearly 4 years old, Thomas Sowell knows the importance of not giving up.
We knew there was going to be barriers. We would just keep going over them, through them, around them, or whatever. But now you've raised a whole generation of people who think it's absolutely hopeless.
Who's telling him that?
Oh, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, you can run through the whole list of them.
But it can't all be just blacks.
No, there are all sorts of whites who are saying the same thing, you know, that every statistical disparity is proof that there are these huge barriers out there.